so thank you for bearing with me. The video quality is not as good. I've got some humidity on my new phone lens that I am not able to get out, so I will be messing with that. But anyway, most important thing is I'm okay, I'm alive, the animals are okay, they're alive. We had something really traumatic happen just over a week ago on Friday, August 5th. So we had been camping in the city of Etaztlan. It's a small town in the state of Jalisco. So we'd been camping there for close to a week. And on Friday we decided, me and the animals, decided to head to the nearby volcano of Tequila, where we were going to camp out at some cabins about halfway up the volcano. And then the next day we were going to hike the volcano, come back down, spend the night at the cabins, and the following day visit the town, do a quick, visit of the city of Tequila, and then head on our way to get close to the Nevado de Colima, which is going to be one of the first large volcanoes or mountains that we were going to hike. It's not actually a volcano, but it's near the volcano. But as I was driving, so first let me preface this by saying that I got in touch with the owner of the cabins, which, as I mentioned, are about halfway up the volcano. It's a pretty remote area, pretty remote. I got in touch with him in advance and I asked him if I need 4x4 to get up to the cabins. He said no. He said any type of vehicle can get up. I said even my low clearance van. He said yes. I asked him how steep is the road, and he said it's not super steep. Okay. I asked him, is there cell phone service or Wi-Fi at the cabins? And he said there is cell phone service, but only in some areas, not everywhere. Okay. So got off work around 4 p.m., got everything packed up. I stopped in the nearby town of Etaztlan just to pick up, ice, some food, snacks and stuff for hiking, take out some cash, things like that. Just a couple quick errands. It was about an hour or so drive. And so we head on over to Tequila. We find the turnoff to start driving up the road. It's not terrible, but it's not great. It is empiedrado, so it does have like rocks underneath, but not like gravel and not like pavement. Like, it's not like colonial style. I can't remember the word for cobbles. It's not like cobblestone. It's like some large rocks for your tires to get traction. But definitely a lot of unevenness, some rutted out areas. Like it was not easy. As I was driving, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, thank goodness I learned how to drive on the farm. And I'm used to kind of maneuvering some of this kind of stuff. I was thinking to myself, oh, thank goodness I'm such a good driver, I said. Later, I laughed at that. Anyhow, so driving up, and I see I'm getting really close to the cabins. About 1 minute before I get to the cabins, according to the map, because I've been checking the engine temperature because I know that, the van is very heavy. It's loaded down with stuff. It's not a super steep path. I mean, there are some switchbacks and stuff, but it's certainly not flat. So I'm keeping an eye on the engine temperature. It does go up a little bit from normal, but it's not anywhere close to the dangerous range. So I'm feeling pretty good about everything, taking it slow and everything. And about 1 minute before I get to the cabins, I hear this noise, like something popping, like towards the back of the van, and I see this white smoke coming out. And maybe about 1 month prior, I was going on an excursion with a group, and we were all loaded up in a van that was supposedly 4x4, and we were going on some back roads to go see a waterfall, and one of the tires exploded in that van. It's not my van. Like it popped, I should say, not exploded. It popped, and it made a similar type of noise. So I was like, okay, but like a tire popping wouldn't cause white smoke, so I'm thinking, So I park the van, I get out, I walk around and check, like the tires look fine, I don't see anything. The smoke only lasts for a couple of seconds. So I think to myself, well, maybe it's like something to do with the exhaust. I don't know. But I said to myself, well, I checked all the gauges in the front and everything was normal. So I was like, all right, you know what? I would rather just get there to the cabins and then I can check this out and see what's going on, rather than being in the middle of this single, it's not like a two-way street. It's like a one path, on an incline. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm almost there. I'll just keep going. Okay, so I keep driving, and again, monitoring everything. Everything looks fine. I see one building, and I'm like, it said on the map that was the turnoff for the cabins, but I didn't see a turnoff, and I only saw one building, and I know it was supposed to be multiple cabins, so I was like, well, maybe Google Maps is wrong. You know, sometimes the location isn't like 100% correct. It's like somewhere in that area. So I was like, all right, I'll keep driving and just check. As I keep driving, I realized like, oh no, that was the cabin. So I didn't get too much further, but I was kind of like looking for a place to turn around. So I got a little further and the road got worse. It was just muddy. It was just mud. There was no like stones for traction. So I was like, okay. So I kept going. I got to this point where the drive, the road, you could call it, forks into three parts. One goes down, one is in the middle, and one goes up. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go on the one in the middle. And as I start going down there is when I'm like, all right, there's no turnaround. Like, this is not where I need to be. Like, okay. So my first thought is like, all right, I'll just try and do like a mini multi-point, like back and forth to, you know, turn the van around. I tried that. It did not work. Just the path was really narrow. There was a drop off. There was a big wall of dirt from the path that was going up to the right. And there was a lot of big rocks and stuff. And it was muddy, like the tires dug out, like, and you know, the van is front wheel drive and it didn't work. So, you know, I got a few times to kind of see what I could do. And I was just like, all right, this multi-point turnaround, this ain't happening. So I was like, all right, I'll just try to carefully back up and get the van up. But I know it's going to be a challenge because, again, van is front wheel drive. It's heavy. It's muddy. I already dug 2 ruts. I have to go uphill and around a curve. So I'm just like, okay, let's just get this over with, you know. So I'm trying to maneuver the van back and forth, get out, check, okay, you know. Again, still keeping an eye on everything. Everything's still looking okay, gauge-wise, and, you know, no smoke or anything. And then suddenly it's not okay. And white smoke starts coming out of the engine. I don't know what happened. I don't know if that noise I heard earlier, like, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. I only know that white smoke came out of the hood, I should say. I don't know for sure out of the engine. It came out of the hood. And I was like, oh. So I tried to put the van in park, like immediately. The lever moves, because it had a lever like next to the steering wheel. The lever moves, but the indicator doesn't move to park. And I'm just like, oh no, this is not good. So I just shut it off. I put on the emergency brake. I run to the back because I didn't post about this on social media, but maybe like a month or so before my trip, somebody broke into the van in front of my apartment in Monterey during the night when I was sleeping in my apartment and stole about a couple $100 worth of stuff. And among the things they stole were dog crates, which are expensive, fire extinguisher, engine oil, like some other small things like that, like some of my reusable bags, like just some random stuff. And they only stole one of the fire extinguishers. I had one in the front, one in the back. So they stole one, and I was thinking, like, okay, I still have one. Like, it's fine. I bought a bunch of gear for this trip. So I was like, all right, with one, it's probably fine. Right? I thought to myself. So I'm like, oh, no. So I run in the back, and I dig out the fire extinguisher, and I run to the front, and I couldn't pop the hood. That's the other thing. Like, a couple of days ago, the little thing that I guess it's supposed to be a lever, but mine was like a piece of plastic. And you pull it open and it triggers the hood to pop, the hood release. That piece of plastic fell off. I didn't really think too much of it. I know that there's still, you know, the wire with tension, so I thought that I would just be able to grab it. But, like, I don't really remember clearly what happened in that moment. I either didn't see the wire or wasn't able to get tension or whatever, but I wasn't able to get it to pop. And I certainly wasn't about to put my fingers under the hood and try and get to release from the front, which I only recently found out was a thing you could do. Somehow I never knew that before. Anyways, because I knew that it was going to be real hot. And, like, I heard the sound of flames inside as I'm, like, there with the extinguisher. So I'm like, oh, no. And I also had the thought, like, well, maybe I shouldn't open the hood because maybe by opening the hood, more air will go in, more oxygen will go in, and maybe that'll cause the fire to get bigger, you know? So I was like, all right, well, you know, we're just going to see what we can do. So I just extinguished the whole fire extinguisher through the front. And I could hear that it was working. But after I extinguished the whole thing, I still heard the flames and the smoke was still coming out. And I was, oh no. And I remembered I had about 20 liters of water in the van. So I ran and got the 20 liters of water. And afterwards, I thought to myself, like, well, maybe that was, not helpful to get rid of the fire extinguisher liquid. But in any case, the foam didn't put out the fire. So I start dumping the water in the front of the engine, or the front of the hood, I should say. I can still hear the flames. And that's when I'm like, this is an emergency. Oh, I forgot to mention, the very first thing I did after I extinguished the fire, so somewhere right around here, the timeline is very fuzzy. Might have even been the first thing I did before I got the fire extinguisher. I don't remember. It might have been fire extinguisher, and then I got my phone out and I tried to call for help, but there was no service. So I just threw my phone on the ground. I was like, all right, I got to deal with this. And at this point, I was like 300 or 400 meters beyond the cabins. So like, I couldn't see them. They couldn't see me. I couldn't hear them. They couldn't hear me. And I was like, I got to do what I can because I know this thing is going to go up really fast. So at this point, I had tried to dump the water. So I'm like, all right, I got to get the animals out of the van. Like, I got to get them out. So I go and I start taking the cats out. 2 were in the front seat. 2 were in the back, between the back doors on the bed, in their crates. So I start taking the cats out and I get them, what I think is far enough away from the van, behind the van, like going down towards the cabins. Because going up is just into more remote area. There was literally nothing else besides this cabin. I saw like a couple of cows way down there. That was it. There was nothing else. There's no restaurants, there's no stores, there's no doctors, there's no houses, there's nothing. This is very remote. I knew that, but it's different when you're experiencing an emergency in a remote area, right? Okay, so I get the cats out, and then I start going for the dogs. Now, the dogs are in the side doors, which are partially blocked by the large dirt wall that's the path that goes up. And that's kind of where the van got stuck. So I'm able to open one of the doors, and I start like taking stuff out to take the dog crates out. And at this point, the van is already on fire. Like, it's literally flames, hot, like a lot of them. I honestly don't remember how much of the van was on fire, but as I started going in for the dogs, it's filled with smoke. So I'm able to get the dog crates out. Now keep in mind, my dogs weigh 15 to 20 kilograms, so 30 to 40 pounds, plus the crates, which are bulky. So I'm getting the dogs out, and like I can barely walk, and the crate can barely get by, and everything's in flames, so it's honestly terrifying. But I know I have to get my animals out, but I can't get them behind the van because of where the dirt wall is blocked. So I have to take them in front of the van. And like as I'm taking them out, like God, I'm losing strength because I'm running on pure adrenaline, just trying to like think of what do I need to do and what can I save and who can I save, and like please God, let me save all of my animals. And I get all of them out in front of the van as far away as I can. And at that point, I go and grab my wallet from inside the van, and I go and grab my computer. I go back in the van for the computer, and I almost choke on the smoke. Like, the smoke is so thick, and it's so hot. And my computer case had already started catching on fire. You can see here, right there. But I was able to get it out. Whether I should have risked my life for the computer or not, that's another story. But I was able to get it out, and I was okay. I see the animals are far enough away. And this all happens in like 2 or 3 minutes. Like, the van goes up in flames super fast. And I know in that moment, I'm not getting anything else out of the van. It's all a waste, and it is what it is. It's just stuff. So I start running down the hill towards the cabins in my bare feet because at some point my cheap flip-flops fell off as I'm getting the animals out of the van. So I start running down the hill towards the cabins, screaming for help. Like, there's a separate word in Spanish for emergency as compared to like regular help and assistance. And I start screaming for emergency help, like fire, my animals, like please help me. And I'm like so out of breath, and I'm like running down the cobblestone like as fast as I can, but I can barely run because I'm just like so, I don't know, just consumed with the nature of this emergency, I guess. And there's a couple of people, and they're kind of just like, huh, what's going on? There's like 3 people there. And they, of course, are in shock because no one expects to just see a van in flames. I didn't expect that either. But they kind of, get the picture and start coming up with me. So I asked them to grab the cats and start taking them down the hill. And I had taken the dog leashes out as well as their crates. And I decided, like, there's no way I'm going to be able to carry these crates down the hill fast enough. So I'm going to let the dogs out of their crates and put them on their leash. And we're going to walk down. If the crates burn up, then it's fine. So I did that and got them out of their crates. And we have to walk by the van, which is completely consumed in flames at this point. High flames, so hot, emanating out from the van. and I have to walk in this really small piece of land, like right next to the van to get us to safety. The dogs are able to walk down the incline to where like the other road connects, but I don't have that stability and it's very slippery. So I just decide to just go for it. Like, whatever. Like I know I'm going to get out of this alive, and like I have to get the dogs out of this alive too. So I just start walking there, and that's when I got burned. It's been more than a week, so the burns are healing, but you can see this is what's left. And I also got burned on my foot, and on my other arm just a little bit. You can't really see. It kind of almost looks like acne, but there's that there. And my hair got singed. I got burned on my face and my ear. But I was able to get the dogs out of there and, grab my computer and my wallet and go down the hill. And so we're going down the hill like as fast as we can. And we go to the cabin, and the property manager has already called 911. They're sending the firefighters. They don't know where it is. So they're sending the firefighters. And so at this point, I start asking the people at the hotel, like, well, first let me say, as I'm coming down the hill, like my throat is so full of mucus from like the smoke and everything. And I'm like trying to like spit it out, but I can't. Like it won't come out. It's just like so full of mucus. And anyway, so we go down the hill, and I say to the lady, like, maybe we should start evacuating, like going down the hill, because already the forest is starting to catch on fire, and I know how quickly these things can burn. And I was like, I don't want to go inside these cabins. Like, this place could easily catch on fire before we get out of here. Like, we're 30 minutes driving up the mountain, 20 to 30 minutes driving up the mountain. Like, I was not feeling good about it. But the lady's like, the firefighters are on their way. And sure enough, I heard they were coming. So I was like, okay. So put the cats inside the cabin, and I asked her for some water. And she's like, no, you need a tortilla for the susto, like for the fear. Here, eat this cold tortilla. And then after that, you can have water. Okay. I eat the cold tortilla. It does help with the mucus. Then she gave me some water. Okay, thank you. And I just sit outside with the dogs, just watching what, the flames that I can see through the trees now for the van. Just everything just going up in flames, and the smoke, the black smoke up to the sky. The smell, it's terrible, and it stays with you. Oh, it's terrible. It's so strong. And so I'm just sitting there, watching my home go up in flames, as well as basically all of my possessions. And the firefighters come, and luckily they're able to put it out. I'm able to watch from down below and see them putting it out. And as I see that they're putting it out, I'm like, all right, it's okay to put the animals away now. So I kind of get everybody set up. Got a cardboard box and dug up some dirt for the cats to use for a litter box. And the caretaker she has a dog, so she gave me some dog food, and I asked her for a can of tuna for the cats, and I gave everybody water and kind of got them set up and cozy. And then the firefighters wanted to see me, of course, to ask, what had happened and my identification, so they could like file their reports and stuff. So I went up to see the firefighters. It was 2 men and 2 women, and I thanked them so much for coming quickly and for putting out the van. There was still some fire, but it was mostly like in the ashes, like sparks and embers and things like that. But they had used up all of their water, so they were waiting for like one of those trucks that is like a big water tank to come up and put out the rest of the fire. But it was controlled. And so, talking with them and, explaining what happened, answering their questions, show them my ID, et cetera, et cetera. And it's interesting because they say to me, like, you got to ask, like, for more information before you come up to these kind of places. And I was like, I mean, like when I asked the owner, do you need 4-wheel drive? What kind of vehicle can come up there? How steep is it? Is there cell phone service? Like, I'm not really sure what more information I should be asking, but, I appreciate their concern. Of course, they probably didn't know that I'm used to going to remote areas and hiking and camping and things like that. And it's definitely a good idea to always get information beforehand. But I really couldn't think of anything else that I would have asked. And when I said that to them, they were just kind of like, well, you need to ask for information now. I was just like, okay, but like what? But anyway, that's beside the point. They were definitely true heroes that day, and I told them that, and I thanked them profusely because they honestly, they saved the forest. They probably saved a lot of lives, because if that place had caught on fire, the caretaker and her family that was visiting, like, yeah. So we're real lucky. that the animals and I got out okay. I had my international hotspot, which is honestly a piece of crap. That thing, it didn't have any service anywhere I've tried to use it recently. So I couldn't let anybody know I was okay. So the caretaker was able to lend me her phone, and I was able to call my mom, who was the only phone number I actually know, and just tell her I'm okay. I don't need money. I don't need anything. This is where I'm at. This is what happened, etc. And ask her to contact my best friend and update her. And then my best friend contacted my local friends and so on. So I got a couple of calls like that night and the next day from some of my close friends just checking how I was doing, and I really appreciated that. The owner of the cabin let me stay for free in the cabin that night, which I appreciated. I mean, of course, I wouldn't have had a problem paying, but did appreciate that hospitality. And I was honestly pretty shooken up, as you can probably imagine, having a near-death experience. And I think nobody ever really thinks they'll be in that type of situation. And I was really glad I was able to act so quickly. I was really, really glad all the animals are okay. They're completely unharmed. No smoke damage, no burns on their paws, no burns. I've been observing them over the last week and wondering if something would show up with more time. Nothing. I definitely got them out in time, so I'm really, really grateful for being able to do that and think on my feet in that experience. I definitely feel like somebody was looking out for me, or multiple somebodies for sure. And let's see, what else happened after that? So I watched the sun go down, and so this happened around 5:45 p.m. I watched the sun go down. Some of this timing is mixed around. I think I called my family after the sun went down. Supposedly the firefighters had contacted my insurance, and the car insurance was going to come out, but that never happened. Took a shower, washed myself with dish soap. That was the only soap that I had, and put my dirty clothes back on because that was the only clothes I had. And finally, when I went to bed that night, I was obviously like really shooken up. And I was sitting up in bed with like a soft blanket wrapped around myself, and I was shaking. And I don't know if it was because of the cold or because of the shock, or maybe both, because it was a little bit cold. I was shaking, and the cats were all laying in bed with me, and they just started purring, and I wasn't petting them. Which they sometimes do, but not often. They usually purr, when I'm petting them. And I just started sobbing. I was just sobbing and just like, I don't know if it was relief that we were okay or just my body finally reacting to the shock of what we actually went through, or some combination of related things. But I just started sobbing, and I was laying there in bed, and I had the light on, and I was sitting up in bed because I wasn't sure if the insurance was going to come, because supposedly they were. But they were going to come from Guadalajara, which is an hour and a half away. So I was like, well, I'll just sit up in bed, and I can look out the window like if they do come. And I guess I eventually fell asleep sitting up in bed. And throughout the night, I just kept having flashbacks to the moments in the van, like as it's on fire, and I'm thinking like, okay, let me get the animals out. Okay, what should I do? And all these things. And the most traumatic moment that I remember is when I was going back in for I forgot to mention when I was doing that. At some point, I think after I got the animals out, or maybe right before, I had a container that had a tank of gasoline, 10 liters, was full, and a tank of propane, small tank for my camping stove. And luckily I had the foresight to grab that and throw it down the hill away from the van. It never caught fire. I was not able to get my generator out. I did think about it, but it was so buried under stuff, and it's so heavy that I was like, we just got to get away from here. Like, this thing's going to explode. So anyway, the van did explode a couple of times, probably once for the generator, probably once for the gas tank that the van uses for the engine. I don't know, at least twice, and everything melted. I mean, windows are gone, ceiling was gone, tires are gone. Everything burned so much that when I went back with the insurance inspector the next day, couldn't even find the serial number anywhere. And it's supposed to be in multiple places. Completely burned off. So, and it's supposed to be stamped in metal, but anyhow, so I finally fell asleep on Friday night. This was Friday night. And woke up early on Saturday. I mean, theoretically, I'm thinking to myself, probably the insurance is going to come sometime this morning since they didn't come yesterday. And no, they didn't come. So one of my really good friends called me, and she's just asking if there's anything she could do. And I was like, actually, if you could call the insurance, that would be great, because I don't even want to go into it. They're so difficult to deal with, and like their audio is extremely low. And like, I make phone calls in Spanish all the time, and I have no problem whatsoever. But for some reason, when I call the car insurance, it is just so hard to hear them and understand them. I'm constantly asking them to repeat things like 3 times. I'm telling you, they are extremely incompetent. Extremely incompetent. So much so that they didn't have any report filed from the firefighters. Okay, whatever. My friend called them that morning. They said they'll send someone within 2 hours. Okay, well, 2 hours pass, nothing. So my friend calls them again. Oh, somehow they didn't have any report of that. Okay, they're going to send someone within 2 hours. Then I get a call asking if I want to open a new policy with them. And I'm like, what? No, my van caught on fire and I need you to send out an insurance adjuster. Are you sending someone? No, I don't need a new policy. Anyway, it was a whole ordeal with my friend calling them multiple times, and every time them being like, oh, we have no record of such a thing. And then, and just when I'm thinking like, well, I guess no one's going to come today, because it's already getting to be like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, well, if they haven't come by now, and it's Saturday, like for sure they're not coming Sunday. And then I get a call that they had got lost in the town of Tequila for an hour and a half. I don't know why they went in the town of Tequila, because, we had specifically told them the Tequila Volcano Cabins. It's the only cabin. It's the only one called Tequila Volcano Cabins. It's in the volcano. Specifically told them that. But somehow they got lost. Okay, it's fine. They said they'll be there within an hour. They asked me what time is good for you. I'm like, I'm literally here waiting for you guys. I haven't gotten medical care yet because I'm waiting for you guys to show up. So you tell me what time you're going to be here and I'll be ready. And they're like, how about an hour? I'm like, an hour is great, but are you sure someone's actually coming? Because, because we've called multiple times and been told someone was coming and nobody came. And they're like, oh yeah, they'll be there. Right. But yeah, sure enough, about an hour and a half after the last call where they say it'll be an hour, knock on my door, insurance adjuster. Great, I'm very happy. He had trouble getting up the mountain. His car got stuck a couple times, but he figured it out. Really glad to see him. Really nice guy. He's quite competent. I think it's just their call center is just terrible. Anyways, so we, fill out some paperwork, show him my ID. Luckily, I was able to grab my ID, because if not, I don't know what I would have done. And at this point, I can barely walk because I burned the bottom of my foot real bad as I was getting the animals out during the fire. And even during the same day of the fire, I am like hobbling around. I can barely walk because it's got this nasty black blister, and it's huge. And it's right on the ball of my foot, so it's real difficult to walk. Anyways, and the lady lent me a pair of flip-flops, the caretaker, so that was really nice. Oh, yeah, and she fed me on Saturday. She was very generous and very helpful. She kept lending me her phone, and she had, invited me to eat with her family for a home-cooked meal. I honestly wasn't hungry, but I also hadn't eaten since Friday morning, except for the cold tortilla, so I was like, I should eat something. So that was super nice and generous of her, and I really appreciated it. And so I went with the insurance adjuster to see the van and deal with all that paperwork, take pictures of the van, etc. I had already gone that morning to take pictures of it. And then as he's getting ready to leave, I coordinated with the lady that was the caretaker, and she had somebody coming up from the town to deliver linens in a pickup truck, and they had agreed to give me and the animals a ride down to the town. And I had decided I just wanted to leave the cabins because even though it's very beautiful there, I don't have a phone. I don't have, I need medical care. It's very beautiful, but, I need to work next week. So I'm not really sure, why I would come back, in that moment. because I don't have a vehicle. It's going to be really difficult. Like supplies, dog food, like clothes, like all those things are in town, a new cell phone, like, so I just decided I would just stay down in town. It would be simpler. So I looked up online and tried to find a hotel that would allow pets. Couldn't really find one. So the guy took me and the animals down into town, and we just stopped at a hotel, and I just told them, look, I know you don't allow pets, but if I pay a deposit in cash, and then, if they damage anything, like, you can keep it. And if they don't damage anything, then when I check out, you can give it back to me. Like, would that be acceptable? And I started explaining to them the situation. Look, I need to go to the hospital. My van caught on fire. All my possessions burned up. Like, I don't have anywhere to stay, and I have to stay here to deal with the insurance, because the insurance adjuster told me that they would probably come out in the middle of the week and want to see me again to go up there, but that they could pick me up from the town. So I was like, okay, great. And so, yeah, the hotel staff was super kind. Honestly, great people. Yep, they put me up. Not only did they put me up, but they also let me have the apartment next to the hotel, which is much bigger than the hotel rooms. And they let me have it for the same price, which was very reasonable. And then during the week, their prices are lower, so they gave me a lower price and just said it'll be this much per night for however long you want to stay here. And honestly, that was really great of them. I super appreciated it. And the animal, it's actually bigger than my apartment in Monterey. It's also way more expensive. In 3 nights, it cost the same amount that it cost for 1 month in Monterey. But it's fine. It was, I was able to afford it, so I'm grateful for that. And I was able to take care of the animals, settle in. I got a new cell phone. I took out cash. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to set up my cell phone because I wasn't able to verify my Google account, because all the verification was on my other phone, which burned up. So I had to wait for this 48-hour process where they try to verify my account. And then I got a taxi and went to the store and bought like dog food, cat litter, food for myself, toiletries, deodorant, shampoo, like stuff like that. So that was really good. And I was going to come back to the apartment and drop the stuff off and walk the dogs, take care of everybody, and then go get medical attention, because in my mind, thinking about the U.S. healthcare system, in my mind, if I need to go to like a clinic or a hospital, it's certainly going to be multiple hours, potentially even all night, depending how long the wait is. That's in my mind. But the taxi driver told me, well, the Red Cross is actually right next to the grocery store, well, really close to the grocery store, so we can just stop there if you want. And I was like, well, won't there be a long wait? And he's like, I don't think so, but you can just poke your head in and see. Poke my head in. They were able to help me right away. I'm pretty sure within 30 minutes I was in and out. I got all the different paperwork that the insurance requires to reimburse me, but in the end it only cost 500 pesos, or around $25. And they just took a look. It was funny too, because when I sat down, they were like, so what happened? And I start telling them, and they're like, oh yeah, the van up in the volcano, yeah, we heard about that. And I was like, oh, okay. But anyways, they treated my burns, they drained the one on my foot, they drained the blood out with a needle, and that honestly helped a lot. It still hurt, but I was able to like actually walk on it, and I just kept pushing and walking on it, and after a couple of days it hurt a lot less, so that was really good. And then they prescribed me some cream and like a spray for the burns when they pop, so I can treat them so they don't get infected. But they didn't have it in stock, so I had to go the next day and get it at the pharmacy. But yeah, I mean, honestly, super quick, really good service. I went home, took care of the animals, settled in, ate something. I don't even remember what I ate. I think it was like cookies or something. Now it's just like, well, at least I ate something. And then from there, things started going downhill. So then on Sunday, bought some new clothes. The staff from the hotel also donated a bunch of used clothes to me. That was super, super nice of them. Got some food. Started letting people know what had happened to me. Stuff like that. And then from there, things kind of went downhill. I ended up taking the day off on Tuesday to try and deal with insurance stuff. They didn't actually need to come out. They thought I wanted to come out. I don't know how they thought that, because I literally told them on the phone that same day, like, I'm literally staying in this hotel waiting for you guys because I know that you need me to go with you to look at the van. And this hotel is very expensive, so could you please, like, hurry up this process, because I don't want to have to keep staying here. And they're like, okay, yeah, but we don't think it'll be today. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, so yeah, but I was able to finally open a Mexican bank account, which I have gone 3 times in Monterey and not been able to open the account. And I went 1 time in Tequila to the same branch and I was able to open my account. It took about 2 hours, but I was able to open it. So that was awesome. I now have a bank account where I can receive the payout from the insurance because apparently I cannot receive it to an American bank account, to a friend's bank account, or to any other method. So that was a huge relief. I filed my insurance claim with my renter's insurance for I had more than $5,000 worth of stuff in the van. I mean, not only the generator, but I had like bought a bunch of new gear right before the trip. I had a lot of specialty items for the animals, a lot of specialty hiking gear, a lot of specialty camping gear, like some of the stuff, literally all my clothes, a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. Some of this stuff I have been accumulating, like some of the clothes were more than 10 years old, like some clothes that I had bought before I went to Spain in 2009. So I mean, it's only stuff. I lost very little sentimental stuff, but it's still, it's a shame. But in the end, it's only stuff. It can be replaced over time. But yeah, so I was able to file the property insurance claim. I finally got my phone unlocked, or the Google account unlocked, so I was able to set up the apps, on my new phone, which I'm still setting up little by little. So I made some pretty good progress on Tuesday, which was great. And honestly, I worked so much last week that I did not have the energy to call the insurance yet. But I have been following up with my local contact that sold me the insurance policy, and he's been pressuring his contact in Guadalajara. So I will follow up with them again tomorrow. So things are moving in a good direction, even though the burns look terrible. They're getting a little bit better every single day. I had therapy last week and was able to work on some of the traumatic parts from the incident. I don't know if I told this. I was starting to tell the most traumatic part and then I got sidetracked. The most traumatic part was when I was going back in for Brisa, and I don't remember in which order I was taking her out. That's one of my dogs. And the van was full of smoke, and I just remember seeing her little face, and maybe it was just me interpreting it, but I just felt like her little face looked so panicked and like, please save me, please save me. And I remember saying something to the dogs as I'm taking them out, like, I'm going to save you guys, or don't worry, it's going to be okay, or something to that effect. I don't remember what I said. But they seemed completely untraumatized. And the cats too, except for that purring the first night, which I understand that purring can be caused by, stress or by happiness. So I'm not sure if they were like trying to calm me down and that's why they were purring, or whether they were just like, that was super traumatic, purr, purr, purr. I'm not sure. But like after that, they were completely fine. So yeah, I'm super grateful that we're all okay. Yeah, and that's the most important thing. I wanted to share this story with you guys because it's not every day that somebody's vehicle catches on fire in such an extreme way. It's not like a little fire. It's like the van is gone. It is gone. Even one of the license plates got consumed in the fire. Like it is gone. But yeah, I'm glad to be okay. I'm glad to be alive and just taking things one day at a time. I'm now in an Airbnb in Guadalajara. I'll be here for the next month. Just kind of laying low, waiting to see about the insurance payout. Hopefully can buy a new to me vehicle. Got a little tiny yard for the animals here, and just kind of starting my life again. That's basically it. Just kind of hoping to catch up on rest and just allow myself to be. I don't have anywhere to be. I don't have anything to do besides work. So yeah, just taking it one day at a time. Okay, guys, well, that's it for this story. It's a long enough one, so I'll see you guys later.